Are we on? Jill? Are we there? Well,
I'll make a nomination that Aaron White serves as the mayor pro tem for this evening. Second.
we have a
Well,
nomination.
it's not a second because you're just nominating.
Okay.
It's not like a motion.
Usually seconds.
Do we have a vote?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, it wouldn't matter if I voted, so we'll accept the vote and move forward. Thank you. I guess by virtue of senior councilman, that falls to me. We'll call this meeting to order. We appreciate everyone coming and being in attendance with us tonight. First of all, we'll have a roll call of those in attendance. We'll start with Councilman Labrum.
Here.
Councilman White. Here. Councilman White here. Councilman Baird.
Here.
And we excused the mayor and Councilman Baird tonight, both out of town. We've asked our assistant city manager, Mr. John Zillis, to give us a prayer, and then if you'll stand and follow me in the pledge of allegiance afterward. Wonderful.
Our dear Father in heaven, we thank thee for the opportunity we have to meet together to discuss the matters of Roosevelt City. We pray that thou would please guide and direct the council in their decisions, and that thou would please watch over them and grant them clarity of mind. We pray for thy spirit to sustain us and be with us and help us to continue to work hard for the betterment of this great city. And we pray for thy spirit to be with us this evening, and say it in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I might make mention this meeting has been properly noticed on the state website, as well as posted on the building appropriately in accordance with the Open and Public Meetings laws of the state of Utah. First matter of business is our minutes. Everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? If so, is there any additions or corrections to page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the minutes.
So moved.
Motion. Thank you. Motion by Councilman White. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Burdick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. In accordance with our agenda, we have a 3-minute designated period for anyone who would like to address the council for any matter. Seeing no one desirous to come forward, we'll move forward. Thank you. We have a public hearing tonight for our CDBG second public hearing meeting for 5th East Sidewalk and Streetlights project. So we do have some specific language that needs addressed relative to this meeting. Is that correct? I will share that with you. First of all, we'll consider ourselves in a public hearing meeting, and I'll address this at this time. This is the second public hearing for the CDBG program. This hearing was called to allow all citizens to provide input concerning the project that was awarded under the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program. Roosevelt City has amended its capital investment plan and decided to apply for funds on behalf of the 5th East Sidewalk and Streetlights project. The application was successful in the regional rating and ranking process, and the 5th East Sidewalk and Streetlights project was awarded $229,668. We will now open the meeting for any comments from the public. Anyone from the public have any comments they wish? Seeing none, we appreciate that and we'll move forward. Anyone who would like a copy of the capital investment plan, they are available from our city office. Do we need a motion afterwards? We'll consider ourselves out of public hearing.
We have a few more things to read into there if you want, just to cover it.
Okay.
brief. Okay. This project specifically focused on making sidewalk and street lighting improvements in a low moderate income neighborhood located on the east side of 5th East between Lagoon and 8th South. There's currently very little sidewalk in this area, which is of particular concern because an elementary school is located on 5th East to the south, and a new high school has just been constructed on Lagoon Street, several blocks to the east. The upgrades to the sidewalk and street lighting will provide a safer route for students walking to and from these schools, along with other residents of the area. It will also help to complete the Roosevelt City Master Plan for walking paths. This project will include 14,500 square feet of sidewalk, 8 ADA ramps, and 5 added streetlights. As part of the project, existing sidewalk in this corridor that is currently in poor condition will be removed and replaced. Upon its completion, this project will increase the quality of life for residents of this neighborhood and increase safety for students using the route to travel to and from school.
Thank you.
How wide is the sidewalk? 4 feet wide. And that's been what we've been.
That's our standard, what we've done most places. There is some along the highways that we put 5 feet.
Good.
But 4 foot is our standard.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Seeing none.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve this project. Wording that it needs to be put in.
Wonderful. We have a motion from Councilman Labor.
I'll second that motion.
Second from Councilman Burdick. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you. We'll move on to appointments. I don't see Sergeant.
No, I'm going, that's what I came up.
Okay. Thank you. Ryan, do we have the sergeant coming?
He was scheduled to.
Okay. We'll move forward past the strike force. Let's move on to resolution 2019-291, setting compensation for non-contracting court appointment, Indignant Defense Counsel.
I will talk on that one.
Thank you.
We have been at our current rate for over 15 years. We are the lowest, and the next person that was the lowest was the county. On Monday, they raised theirs from 50 to 100. And we're feeling that we should, one, formalize having an amount, which we haven't formalized in resolution prior to this. And two, that we would match the county's rate as $100. We have a contract that covers most of our indigent defense. It covers the indigent defense and the first conflict that might arise. So if there is a conflict of interest in the case, this attorney firm will cover the initial case, the first conflict, and the only time we're paying is the second conflict. And that's what this rate would be, so that we could attract an attorney to take that second conflict if it comes. It has not been very often that we've had to do that, especially after we've taken this. We've only had maybe 1 or 2 times that we've ever gone into this since we've had the contract in the last year and a half, something like that. So anyway, we enjoy the contract. That's a good one. We've put in budget that we probably need some increase to that contract in the future, but this is on the offhand that those don't work, then this rate would recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions from the council?
What is the current budget set aside for that?
We spend approximately $2,800 a month on indigent defense. One of the things we are working on is getting a grant for helping pay for some of that. And we're working towards that end for about $2,800 a month for indigent defense.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll look for an adoption of the resolution.
Move that we adopt.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None None opposed. Thank you. Did you get the motion in a second? Okay. Let's move on to purchase orders. I saw the purchase orders.
It's amazing, man. That's amazing. That's been the same for 15 years.
That is.
From everything else, it's changed.
My take is probably we don't have outside counsel come represent a whole lot, so,
We don't.
so it hasn't probably been.
Before we had our contract, we had it all the time, and we were getting some pushback that says, hey, you know what, we don't want to take it. We had a little pushback then, but we got a contract and we said, okay, well, tell us, what do you expect and how much, and what do you think it'll cost approximately this many hours? And then they did a contract that way, and that worked really well for us. We liked that. And so we don't have very many of these second conflicts that we have to live with. So it hasn't really been an issue. But when we come right to it, we said, you know what, it's good for us to be proactive and not be the bottom of the barrel, because we believe we're A+ class. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's move on to purchase orders. So the purchase orders come down. Do we have any questions on the purchase orders? First of all, if not, entertain a motion to approve the purchase orders.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase orders.
Thank you, Councilman Burdick. Have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Reports from standing committees. We'll start with Councilman Labrum.
I don't. Is there anything that the parks met yesterday?
We did.
Ryan, you can report on that.
You know, they are busy getting ready for the season. And that's really their biggest report is they're getting ready. Would report to you, kind of part of my manager report, but on that particular subject, if you recall, we spoke about the scheduling of fields. That program is up, running, and we've had over almost 180 that have already, 180 days have already been wow. So we're 180 times, you know, there's 5 fields or more. So we figure it's gaining success. So we just need a little feedback, and we're happy to do a lot of this.
Thank you for addressing that. That was a big issue.
Why had that not taken place before now?
A lot of the scheduling had happened just with the entities that were having official registration, and we were just allowing other ones to work in where they wanted to be. We have something that reserves for the pool. We have something reserved for pavilions. Just hadn't been really an issue that had been brought up. When they brought it up,
Right.
we worked on it. It was a lot of work, but it was not insurmountable. It's something that we accomplished between council meetings when we knew it was an issue.
Well, that just goes to show some of the people that came last time expressed some frustration that they had a hard time, but they obviously didn't come and bring it to our attention so we could do something about it. But so things like that is frustrating because we can fix most things if people would just come tell us.
Absolutely. If they'll just tell us, talk to we encourage people, talk to one of our department heads, talk to me, bring it in. You know, if the citizens will bring it there, it's definitely possible. So, anyway.
That's good.
What's the feedback been on the website?
I think people have liked it. Have you got any success on the?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about that. So also based on those comments, we heard a lot that people have a hard time finding information and that there were specific kinds of information that they weren't being able to find. So we've spent a lot of time, and it hasn't just been me, it's been all of us with recreation and everything, working really hard to make our community calendar, 1, more user-friendly, and 2, a lot more comprehensive.
Great.
So that it's covering everything. We've got high school sports games on there. We've got like upcoming commencement exercises on there. We're trying to make sure that it includes absolutely everything that you might need to do in our community, and we have plans to expand that further. We're looking at how to incorporate aquatic center time. So when people pull up the calendar and they're saying, "I've got my kids home this afternoon. What do I do with them?" They know open swim runs at this particular time, or there's story time at the library. So we're working really hard on making those improvements, and they're in progress. The feedback so far has been really good. We've been talking to the community about it a lot and letting them know that that is there and available. And please send us information if there's stuff that they know of that we are missing. And we've gotten good feedback on it. So I think it's improving.
It's great.
I'd like to make one comment on the website. I'm blown away at how well the Roosevelt City website has gotten so much better. And people get replied to, their comments are replied to fast and accurately, and I think I'm very proud of the city having such a great website and way for people to get information. And I just want to, give kudos to the staff for being so on top of this and cutting edge. I think it's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate that. There's been many of us that have done a lot of work, and we appreciate that. So
That's great.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anything else, Councilman Lehman?
No.
Councilman White? I don't have anything either, other than the Red Mud Committee has had a meeting scheduled with council, but I think another one. Do you have anything?
we met, and as we discussed, we thought, there's a lot of individuals that are really busy, and we were going to consolidate assignments and send them out in kind of a news email group, and be able to help people know, okay, here's the assignments. So you're willing to just keep those assignments, and as they are, we could reduce the number of meetings that we would hold. It's hard to find the time that everybody can be there. So we're kind of looking at that email group as a kind of a coordination effort.
So excellent. I really appreciate the way that the city has taken that vision, the Red Mud Run, when we started that in our 5th year this year, 5th or 6th,
Maybe so.
I think it could be more like your second year.
might have been, but the vision of that was we started that, and the city took that over, and they really have done a great job with that. So I compliment Recreation Department, yourself, leadership of the city. It's become a wonderful event for the city on the 4th of July. I know a lot of people look forward to it. It's a fun one. Councilman Burdick, anything?
No, just a little bit on the proposed gun range. Met with engineer Greg Buxton Saturday, and we walked the area, and we came up with a list of items that right-of-way easements and things that we need to gather up if there are any, and kind of a laundry list of items need to gather up, which I'll put together and request from the manager, but got some good ideas on how to make the range work, or at least an initial plan, which we'll work on getting that out for review. And I think it will be very inexpensive and very simple and very beneficial to the city. So it's moving just very slowly, which is okay. So we're doing right. Yes, that's really all I got.
Thank you. Appreciate your report on that. That completes the, yes.
There was the meeting with the UDOT this last week in Duchesne, and they talked, they're gonna do the Highway 40 has been brought up from pole line, they said to Fort Duchesne, I think. You know what, is it just an overlay, is it a
It's a
chip?
mill and fill. So what they'll do is they'll mill off.
They will do
They
that?
will mill off and then repave. That's the design.
Great, it's just not a quick, that's a big project, it'll go right through Roosevelt all the way
That, this year or next year?
this year.
It's been bid out. They're trying to settle. It was bid out a little over the engineer estimate, so they're working that out and working out some of their pieces between contractors and things like that. So hopefully they'll have that resolved soon. But yeah, it should grow. So it should start.
That's what the state said. I mean, they plan to do it this year.
This year.
I
Another
asked,
project that is going on, if you haven't seen, is the Second South or light that is coming, the safety light that's coming there. And so you'll kind of see that there's some construction over there that's coming, which will help the traffic, the pedestrian traffic that goes just here to the north of us, crosses from the junior high across the highway.
One of the other things that has come to mind on traffic control, but now on Lagoon Street, 6th East. I know that unfortunately doesn't follow the state, but that may be an area we need to study.
So we've just gotten a study back as part of our master plan. As part of that, and when we get to the master plan in details, what we've asked them to do is a transportation plan to address any pinch points. And in that plan, they identified the different areas and different entry and exits to there. They projected out that if it was at full capacity, a stoplight would reduce the wait time on average by less than 2 seconds.
So very minimus.
We have it the way we do for safety, not for traffic, so that spot really reduces the speed and flow of traffic by design, so that the pedestrians that are crossing through that it is slowing it down for them rather than efficiency for vehicles. It's really about pedestrian traffic.
Right. Well, I think we did the right thing by getting that sign stop sign there. It's just a long time of day. It can back up from the stoplight clear to the stop sign.
I go there every day.
It's amazing.
So I'm at that intersection at least twice every day. Oh,
Those hours or those times or different?
I drop off my daughter every morning to school. Yes, those times.
You experienced
I am
that.
there. I know the feeling exactly.
I know my daughter has figured out the best way to go, because if you go on Lagoon Street, you're gonna be waiting a while, so she just goes on Highway 40 and then goes back the other way.
And we believe once we complete the Bridge Gate South, that will alleviate a lot of the south traffic to come around. And that will split up some of that. So there is things that will help to alleviate over time. But yeah, at that point, 2 seconds is what we figured is not final.
That's an expensive 2 seconds, isn't it?
yeah. Mayor, on the streets and looking at, our painting gets done after, like when we did 300 North, they painted and did. And down around the school, I know it's really faded through the summer. What do we regularly have planned? Do we have a regular maintenance for replacing the painting in our off of Highway 40 that we are responsible, like we did on State?
A lot of times we will do it when we have redone a road. And we will maintain our collector roads, but we don't actively paint and stripe the center line. We don't paint and stripe the center line of our residential streets.
Right.
But we do on our collector. So State, Lagoon, we would maintain those. And we would maintain crosswalks at sensitive junctions.
But we got it on a rotation, like most states terrible and Lagoon is gone. Is that something on the radar that's gonna be done?
So Lagoon, the thing with Lagoon, and that we painted it last year.
I know.
And I mean, that's how long it lasts. It just doesn't, it's not, that striping we could do. We don't have a striping machine to do that in-house.
So is it real expensive to do that? Because I know the city to the east has been painting them and doing them. How expensive is that to put into our regular? I just feel like that's something that we're close to that we should be doing on these main corridors and
We could look
on a regular basis.
State and Lagoon were striped because they were chip sealed last year. They were striped last year, and those are the two major ones that we would maintain that way. we focused more on chip seal and maintenance of the road because we've got a lot that we have to accomplish there. But we would definitely look at it. That's a good point. We'll look at it.
Thank you.
Even if we just made sure within so many feet of intersections, because I know what Dave's talking about, you're driving down there and sometimes you're not in the right spot according to who's turning which way, and you're just kind of driving down the middle, and you really should be over a little bit and let people go. But
That's a good idea.
if you just did it just close to the intersection, that's probably about all you need.
Yeah. Let me look into it. We'll see what it costs and how we can get that accomplished.
Wonderful. Well, you can get more out of the street if you take your half out of the middle. With that, we'll move on. Our city manager gives us a report.
You're a big driver.
Okay. Well, just a few kind of items. We've talked about what we're doing on the public information side. The airport, we are still waiting for the FAA to award things there. We've talked about the scheduling. The public works, the projects we are starting 800 South within the next week. I think it should start week, 2 weeks. We'll start 3rd North, which will redo water line and pavement in.
What's that address again on that? Is that on east end?
It's from 400 East to 700 East.
Okay.
And so we'll replace the water line in it, and then repavement. And a lot of the northeast is going to be touched. A lot of those roads, if you've been up in that area, there's a substantial amount of roads that have deteriorated quite a bit there. So this is where a lot of that project will be. Either chip sealing or we have milling. We'll mill off, we'll cement treatment the base and then repave, so that we're utilizing the base that we have. And we'll be chip sealing a lot of it. And so it will be a busy summer with construction. So secondary water is on, so you probably all are aware of that. And just a preview, we'll have our budget meetings for next council meeting. So bring extra caffeine and make sure we're all happy. John has promised that it'll be an amazing event.
Inspiring. Huh?
Inspiring. It will be great. It will be great. So we continue to make progress in different ones. Anything from the three of you that you'd like to talk about? Okay, so I believe that's our report.
Well done. Thank you. I see our firm hired to do some crack sealing.
We did crack sealing first.
So we'll start around town.
Then we'll chip seal over top of a lot of that. And so
Are they out here now?
Yeah.
But,
Crack seal's done.
Yeah. They blast a lot of things up on our residential areas.
They didn't clean it off the sidewalk?
No, I mean, it was horrible in our neighborhood. I didn't see any taken off, so I think that's something we should address.
Yeah, that's good
So
feedback.
they just blowing it, I mean, they just blew it out of the cracks and it just went everywhere. But there wasn't cleanup on it from what I visualized.
That's a good point. What they were supposed to do is clean it out of the crack, put it down, and then clean off the sidewalks, and our street sweeper was supposed to follow. So if it didn't happen in your spot, then that's some spot that we didn't. But that was the design. I do know there were a few, as I watched them, that's what they did, but I didn't watch them at the time. So
Maybe they need to be watched closer.
maybe they need to be watched closer, because that was the design that we were trying to have achieved. But
I thought it should have been because it was terrible.
yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. We'll take a look into that.
wonderful. Well, I'm not aware of anything we need to go into a closed session for. Is there anything we need to discuss?
I know I keep bringing up things, they keep popping. With Rick, our police chief here tonight. Is there anything that can be updated or told about the investigation that was going on? I mean, can anything be brought up, or can we be told where it's at, or
Yeah,
update? I get asked that pretty frequently
so,
still.
yeah, at this point, maybe two, the actual investigation, in the situation of Wasatch County, they've completed theirs. Wasatch County has completed, their review. And you want to say anything on that one?
There were 4 juveniles that were charged by Wasatch County, referred to juvenile court, and that was all that he felt comfortable in with the information that he had to refer. So there were 4 that were referred.
Was that true, the one that came out of Moab?
No, that's not
No.
Wasatch. So then the Moab was going to talk on that. Oh, this is the Wasatch, the actual
I
use
didn't
case.
realize they were doing that. Okay, so
Anyway, so as far as the actual case, it's resolved. It's done.
So the one out of Moab, he has given us a draft, and we're still in review. He's been up, he's interviewed, he's taken a lot of time and effort into it, been very thorough, and has made some recommendations that we're looking into and looking at different directions. But we have only a draft at this point. And once it's final, then we'll work from there. But at this point, some of those, it was just, I think one of the basic ones, you tell me if your feeling was different, but one of the basic feels is we're not alone in the type of department we have. Can we do better? We have certain things that we can do better. Are we working on those? We'll work on those. And we're, as we, policy-wise was some of the things, we have some policy items that we're working on, and he's made some recommendations there. Historically, so you guys know, in August of 17, we moved to a Lexapol, which was which is a policy driven, it's a subscription, right?
Subscription service, police policy.
So at that point, they keep it up to date, and we had a few, things that we needed to update there, and I think we've done, or we're working on some of those, and so I had some good recommendations that we're working through as a staff and internally. Anything to add to that? Is that how you felt?
Yeah, pretty much. We had a difference, a little misunderstanding, maybe it was just me, but I felt like the policy subscription service, and my thought was that we stay with that and let them update us. And the review came in from Moab that we should have taken on a more proactive approach and updated without waiting for the Lexapol to do that. And honestly, he's probably right. That probably should have been done. Wasn't my feeling initially, because I didn't want to update on my own. But his opinion was a little different. He probably had a good point to make there.
So we'll have an open statement to the community, and
We can.
that's what I keep getting asked about. I mean, people all knew that there's being this investigation being done, and they just want to know some of the outcomes, not so much about the youth, which you can't do, but about the city, and after the city police pass it on to those that do the enforcement. That's been a critical concern. Will there be things said there? I mean,
So that all depends on how far out. I mean, obviously we review all different departments in a lot of different ways for improvement. We prefer that anything that we do as far as improvement that way isn't a political improvement, but a true staff and motivating and improvement of policy procedure and how we do, so we're in a better spot than we were before. I don't know that we have a set, we can have here is what we found, kind of a summary, executive summary that could be done. So a lot of the public, go ahead, anyway.
Do we have, on the investigations, do we have a recommendations or findings and recommendations analysis that we could pull from to put that pertinent information out, I guess is what
We could. The understanding though is to understand an department from, what the public may see on one department, and taking those out. Understand that this is on a basis of somebody that understands departments. And so when you read it from a lay perspective, there's some differences that you look and say, okay, you know what, if you don't have the historical background, some of that can be interpreted differently if you don't have that perspective. And so that's good for that.
I think,
So how much do you want? What is it?
well, I think there just needs to be something, because the public that have been interested in this, if nothing's said, then they will not believe that it's been reviewed. And so just a statement that this has been reviewed and some policies have been updated and changed. I don't know that we need to say, specifics, but just that it was done. We've got things.
I would look at it almost like an auditor's report. Auditor's reports are done very professionally, simply, but what they say is, when a financial audit, if there was a finding or recommendation, we found that the balance sheet was off by $10. Recommendation was that we reviewed it on a monthly basis or something like that. I mean,
Sure.
That to me is what would be appropriate, professionally done. Just like the chief said, I thought that was great. Hey, it was found that it would have been great if we would have took a more proactive approach in updating our, what would you say the firm was?
Maximum.
Yeah, Lexima. That was a finding. We reviewed that. We understand we probably should have done that. That's probably what we will do in the future, right? I mean, to me, that just says this the investigation occurred, these are the findings, and this is where we're going.
Okay.
That's how I would see it.
I'd really like to have something done at least before the next time we meet, even to review. That's another month, but we need some transparency openly about it, what we can, and just do it the way it is. It's not like pointing fingers. It's just the public just wants to know more, and let's tell them what we can tell them. So
That's what I'd suggest, that, have our attorney write up what we can say, what makes sense.
We can work on it, but at this point it's in draft. So we don't have a final yet, but it is in draft and we have received that. And so we have some, and he will put that together in a formal report, just similar to a draft or audit. Or in any kind of financial audit or any of those, we get a draft. There were a few things that I think he wasn't aware of, staffing wise. So we kind of helped him that way, and in organizational structure, there were some things, and I think we've clarified that. And so we should be able to see a final one. I'm hoping it's before you leave tomorrow. That's our hope. So I'm just waiting to hear back that final report from him. Thank you.
I would just prefer not to have any public trying to get the news to come back out. And they might do that if we don't kind of update them on what we did and what we found.
Sure. And yeah, and one is learning and one is understanding what the council would like us to do. So
Thank you. Appreciate that. Sergeant, welcome.
Sir, thank you for being here.
Grateful you came. We were about to end. So
You guys get straight to business.
We do.
I like
come on
it.
up. That's Sergeant Glendale with us. We appreciate him being here with us to talk about the strike force and the database.
So Mayor Bird asked that I come and talk with you guys, just give you an update of where we are statistical wise for the strike force, and also kind of a general concept of what the strike force is. So the strike force is agencies made up of Duchesne, Roosevelt, Uena County, Vernal, and Naples City. And we're a multi-jurisdictional drug task force. And so the whole concept of the narcotic strike force is we identify drug dealers in the basin community, and we use confidential informants quite regularly to conduct controlled buys on those individuals and hopefully get them out of our community. So that's kind of the general concept. A lot of people think, well, we're in the basin, we don't really have that kind of issue, but unfortunately, the bad news is we do have that issue, and it's pretty prevalent here. We're very busy. Some numbers that I threw out at our quarterly meetings with the chief there that the mayor found pretty interesting. And it's interesting, he drugged me here and he's not here. So, but just some numbers. And what the state does is the state, we're not going to call it a quota, but the state looks at task force our size and our numbers, and they give us goals, we'll call it, to reach. So the strike force, their year goes from July 1 to June 30th. Okay. So these numbers I just have are from July 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018. We haven't got our January, February, March numbers. So this is just halfway through what we'll call our budget year. So in tracking what we do, for felony arrests, the state of Utah says we should have 40 for the 12 months for the year, and we're at 27. So we're well ahead of that. Misdemeanor arrests, we're recommended to get 100, and we're at 114. So we've already surpassed that. We're only halfway through the year.
Are those a lot of those drug related?
All these numbers that I'm giving you is all drug related. We don't track, as far as the narcotic strike force purposes, we don't track any other numbers but drug related things, because that's our primary function. So that's,
Thank you for that.
those are all drug related arrests, correct. Kind of a breakdown of what you see in the basin. We don't see a lot of cocaine for the first 6 months. We've only seen one arrest. As a matter of fact, that was here in Roosevelt on that cocaine arrest. So cocaine's really not prevalent in the basin area, has never been. Methamphetamine, we've got 26 arrests for the year. That's 6 months. So methamphetamine and marijuana is 38. So those are two for the basin. Methamphetamine and marijuana are more prevalent drugs, and that's in line with the way it has been since I've been on the strike force for about 8 years now. That's kind of your two prevalent drugs. Heroin is down so far. We've had 11 arrests, so that's good. Last year, we were quite busy with heroin arrests. A couple of years before that, we were busy with prescription pill incidents. People abusing prescription pills. That was kind of our younger late teenage years, early to mid 20s. We was having an issue with a significant increase with prescription pills. And then unfortunately, the natural progression when you're abusing prescription painkillers it gets pretty pricey on the street and turn to heroin. So we saw our prescription pill numbers drop and our heroin numbers take off. So the good news is our heroin's down, and our pill prescription cases, we've only had 7, so that's significantly down. So that's a good thing.
That's what's referred to as the opiates.
Opiates. Yep, opiates. The opiate epidemic that's throughout the whole nation, and I don't want to say enjoying that, but it's here in the basin. We'll see if those numbers last. We'll see what this next 6 months bring. I'm hopeful that they stay low, but we'll just have to see. I can tell you, I can't go into a lot of specifics, but I can tell you just the last couple of months, since January 1, we've been really busy. So these numbers, if I was to come back July 1 of 2019, have much greater numbers. We've been really busy. We've had a case over here and then over in the Vernal area, two separate individuals that were really dealing quite a lot of quantity. And this has been, both of those two individuals, we're talking about years of investigations. And we just served search warrants at both of those residents within the last 2 months. So that's good. We'll see what happens and who takes their place, but that's a good thing right now. 7 search warrants that we've executed through search warrants. So that's doing search warrants at individual residences where we've built cases through, like I said, confidential informants. And then the state's recommended that a task force like ours we should average 160 drug-related cases. And we're at 152 for the first 6 months. So well above where we need to be. Unfortunately, we're busy, but that's not necessarily a good thing. But kind of it is what it is. So
has the effect in law change to our state to the east of us had a significant effect on marijuana use?
So yeah, marijuana use. Really, right now it's in the early stages, and we'll see. It's too early to tell as far as the recent changes. We still need the state dispensaries to become up and running and start issuing those things.
Did you notice, I think when he's asking when Colorado?
When Colorado, I wish I had the numbers, and I went over it with the chief. And if next time, if Mayor Bird kindly invites me again, I'll bring those numbers. But yes, when Colorado specifically, when they legalized marijuana, had a direct effect on the UM Basin. And we have the numbers to show that, like I said, marijuana has always been prevalent, but when they legalized marijuana, we saw an increase in our marijuana arrests, our marijuana cases. And then when our dispensaries in Dinosaur went up, it was a sharp increase. Yeah. Unfortunately, when you only have a town of 100 people and 3 dispensaries, someone's coming to town. It's not your local resident. So yeah, we saw a significant increase when the dispensaries opened in Dinosaur. And then we'll just kind of see what the medical marijuana here in Utah does. But yes, marijuana's been on the rise. So
How many are on the strike force?
So we have a total of 6. 6, 1 from each agency besides Vernal City, where Vernal City is the home agency, and I'm the strike force commander. We call it supervisor. We have 2, and then the rest have 1. And then we've talked about where we've been so busy. We've talked about adding an additional, I guess we'll call it part-time person. So the way the narcotics strike force works here in the base, and we're a little bit different than the other agencies in the state of Utah. A lot of the agencies in the state of Utah, it's a full-time task force position. So that's what you do 160 hours a month. We don't do that here. It's been a part-time task force. So we're at 40 hours a month is how our task force operates. So yeah, our guys, not only do our guys work for their home agency, for instance, TJ Bird with Roosevelt, he works his 160 for Roosevelt, plus he works that 40 additional hours on top of that each month related to strike force. And then we've talked about each agency maybe bringing on another person at about 20 hours a month.
And but asking questions on financing that, Rick, is that, do you put that right in? Do you figure it into your budget?
The initial cost that they bill us every year for whatever the committee decides on, they need to run to supplement the grant.
Right.
And I think it's been about $8,500 a year.
And the grant we get, it must be a substantial grant for our area, I guess.
Fair amount.
Yeah, so it's the Criminal Commission of Juvenile and Justice Services, it's CCJJ. And so like last year, I believe it's about 66,000 that we get. So it's actually, yeah, it's not.
So to increase it, I know we all work in our budgets, but that's, I've really thought about this since it was on the agenda a lot, that somehow we need to increase that to be less part-time and more full-time. Because it's gonna be here, it is here, and it's rampant in some of our areas that are, I know, in all of the 100 townhomes behind my house, there's been a lot of action in that area. So I just think that's something we should discuss more deeply in our city council, and maybe others that, would that be a help if we could get that way?
Well, the grant is set up pretty particular on what you can and cannot do. If you wanted to do a full-time agent, you could, but let's face it, that's pretty much your whole entire grant, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And so it's pretty significant.
So the cities would have to kick in.
Significantly.
Significantly, I think, and obviously each cities can do as they please. But if you look at it, I think right now, Roosevelt City contributes $8,500 for that 40-hour position. If Roosevelt, the city, was to pay that by themselves without the grant, that's $11,500. So right there's already a $3,000 difference. And we talked about adding another person at 20 hours a month. And I think after you come up with FICA and stuff, we're talking about $6,000, I think, additional.
That was decided at the last meeting they had. That was decided that would be allowable if an entity wanted to do that, which we personally would like that. We would add another one of our people at a part-time rate. However, we would pay for that as well.
And that's what we put.
Is that what the mayor indicated? You had already figured that in?
Yes.
To your budget for this?
It's in the proposed budget to do that. That would give us a second person to help out. Not as many hours as the other one, but they would be able to help out. That money would run through Vernal City though, still. So it would be strike force and paid at the strike force rate, which is less than time and a half actually. So,
Right.
But anyway, they would manage that money. We would pay them like we do the 8,500 now.
And I think just that alone, if you're talking, if each, and we left it up to, because everyone has different financial situations. It's not a mandatory thing. When we get our actual grant, we know what that is. We'll convene as a governing board and vote on that. We left it up to each city to determine if they want to contribute that extra part-time person to the strike force. But just that alone, I mean, even if 3 or 4 of the agencies do that, that's just extra manpower that I think can fit cost-wise and budget-wise, but additionally be a great asset. Great, help us out.
It's amazing how much of that about you deal with on different ways. A lot in the community, and then you do it with your the people you work with in your faiths.
Sure.
And so all of the things that you're doing, I
I know.
really appreciate what you're doing, and I'm glad that you're doing this report. And
Are there other ways that we can help strengthen that?
right,
Grants. I mean, that's a great grant, but it's a minimal grant when you look at what's actually needed.
We used to get, I've been on it off and on for 30 years, and we used to get a lot more than that. Federal funds have gone down. They're pretty minimal right now, 60,000 minimal grant.
it's a federal one. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it runs through the state, but it's
Yeah.
federal money.
We apply through the state for that federal money and
Yeah, unfortunately, the issue is, and the chief is correct, we used to see a lot more coming in, but unfortunately, this is funded a lot through asset forfeitures throughout the state, and they've changed some asset forfeiture laws that's made it really restrictive on what can and cannot be seized by the police. And so that's still an ongoing thing, but when that happened, a lot of the funding for it unfortunately just evaporated. So last year they were really concerned about the grant and where it was going to come in. And there was a lot of discussion, and luckily for us, it was a very minimal impact to us. We haven't got that grant award yet this year, but there hasn't been any discussion or concerns brought to my attention. So we're hoping that's going to stay the same in the future moving on. And hopefully we'll see what happens with the state forfeiture laws. I know it's a hot topic, and whether that changes and forfeiture funds increase or not, I don't know. So,
The strike force numbers they're high. That's a lot of cases.
However, they focus on the cases that take more time, more effort, and informant put into. If you total the, at least speaking from Roosevelt agency perspective, if you total the amount of arrests in drug cases we do, it would 4 or 5 times that amount. So there are a lot of arrests and things done just by the regular patrol and so forth of the agencies. These are the cases that take more time. We're trying to, as Sergeant Gledhill said, get the dealers off the streets with the strike force.
Are those cases being successful once they get through your hands and go into the prosecution?
We have some ways that we do things. That it's a controlled environment, and we do searches and we do checks, and we make sure our guys have their ducks in a row.
Okay.
They do. All our guys, Roosevelt, TJ included, does a fantastic job for us. So kudos to him. But yeah, fortunately, this is a problem that's not going to go away. It affects us. And although, we talk about drugs here, but we don't talk about your robberies and your assaults and your other things, your thefts, your vehicle burgs. A lot of those, I would dare say 80% of those are, if you disagree, but are related to drugs. So it affects all of us.
Well, Sergeant, we appreciate you coming and sharing that with us and supporting us, and we're delighted to support all that we can.
I appreciate you guys, and the mayor's been awesome. Chief Harrison's been great, and we appreciate your guys' dedication and effort to work with us very much.
I love how the basin is working together that way, and that's the only way we'll ever be successful out here, so we continue to work like them.
I agree.
Is the tribe involved?
No, it's
They've been invited always, and they're still welcome. They haven't chosen to participate. Several years ago, they did for a short while, but it's been a while. They just haven't decided to do that. So.
FBI?
We work pretty, especially the last year, we worked really closely with the FBI. As a matter of fact, both the two, I guess we'll call it targets, the bigger individuals that we took down the last couple of months over here in Vernal, both cases the FBI was involved. So we worked with them very closely, and especially when we talk about the prosecution. Quite frankly, you get a lot more bang for your buck if you go federally with these individuals. So we've definitely focused a lot more on trying to make these federal cases instead of state cases, because that's, like I said, you're bang for your buck.
Right, some off the streets.
Yeah, it makes a little bit more bite to it. So that's where we've definitely within the last year, we've kind of turned our direction to federal charges if we can. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, we've worked pretty close with the FBI.
Thank you. It's been very interesting to me to just think about it a lot more. We just take everything for granted as citizens until you have your vehicle stolen out of your garage idling. And it was drugs, the guy that did it on mine. So at 4 o'clock in the morning.
There you have it.
Don't idle.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys very much.
Hey, thank you.
See you guys.
We appreciate all of you.
Thanks.
Well, gentlemen, we have no other business. I'll entertain one final motion.
Thank you, Rick, for being here too. And
Very
we appreciate you've been put in the spotlight in lots of things that have gone, and them giving you a great, they've only shown one side, and I felt really bad about that for our chief. And I feel like he's extremely honorable and works hard at keeping us safe. And he is a quiet guy that doesn't like to be in the spotlight and does avoid that, but it's natural for him. And I just publicly want him to know that I think he runs a good ship, tries really hard to do the right thing. So,
Thank you. We all echo that sentiment.
Thanks. I'll work on the areas I need.
You're human like the rest of us.
well, and let the whole staff know that we do appreciate it. They're not perfect, but I don't know of any of us in this room that are perfect, so we're all trying to do better. I appreciate seeing them out and moving and doing and talking to public and, you know, other than just being on a call, especially like at the school, you know, where it's just to have a good, positive law enforcement officer there. That makes a lot of positive, he makes a good touch in a lot of lives. One that'll do that. So just appreciate it.
Thank you. Entertain that motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn by Councilman White,
Second.
seconded. Motion is non-debatable. We are adjourned. Thank you.
That was